I drove with my kids for 3 hours to celebrate. My dad opened the door, saw my kids and said, "Let's do without you today, okay?" I said, "Sure," took the gift back to the car. 30 minutes later, my mom called. "Why did the venue say you canceled the deposit?" Without thinking twice, I returned and announced. This was the last time I ever tried that hard for parents. The last time I let them talk to me like that, treat my kids like an inconvenience and act like I was some forgotten obligation instead of their daughter. It was their anniversary. 40 years married. I spent weeks planning this thing, spent more money than I should have. I even bought them a gift that felt like a real gesture. 2 tickets to Hawaii. Round trip, hotel included. Cost more than our last family vacation. But I told myself if there was ever a time to go big, this was it. My husband was supposed to come, but he got sick the night before. Fever, chills, the whole thing. I offered to cancel, he told me to go. I packed up the kids, 7 and 5, got snacks, water bottles, car games, iPads fully charged. We left by 8 a.m., drove a little over 3 hours. I didn't expect a parade when I showed up, but I expected something more than what I got. The house was already crowded when I pulled up. My brother's car was in the driveway, parked sideways like he owned the place. His wife's SUV was right behind it. The same brother who lives 20 minutes away, who never has to explain himself, whose kids could probably set the house on fire and still be greeted with applause. I was used to that. It still stung, but I was used to it. I told the kids to stay buckled for a minute while I brought in the gift. I remember the box. Gold wrapping, simple bow. Inside were the tickets with a little note I wrote at 1 a.m. the night before. I told them I hoped this would be the trip they never forgot. I rang the bell. Dad answered. His face didn't change when he saw me. No smile, no, "Hey, you made it." Just a glance past me to the car. "Let's do without you today, okay?" He didn't raise his voice. Didn't blink. Like I was a delivery person who brought the wrong package. I stood there for a second. Then I nodded. Sure. Turned around, walked back to the car, got in. The kids asked if we were going in. I said no. We started driving. I didn't even have an outburst. Didn't cry. Just drove. About 2 miles out, I pulled into a gas station lot, called the venue and told them to cancel. The woman sounded confused. I told her to keep the deposit. I didn't care. I didn't mention the Hawaii tickets. I already knew I'd be calling the agency later, which I did. They couldn't refund the full amount, but I got back 30%. Good enough. 30 minutes later, my phone lit up. Mom's name. "Why did the venue say you canceled the deposit?" I didn't respond to the text. I just turned the car around and headed back. Not to apologize. Not to explain. To finish something that needed finishing. I parked a block away this time. I didn't want the kids to hear anything through the windows. I gave them snacks and tablets and told them to stay buckled just a little longer. They were confused, but I told them I'd be right back. I locked the car, turned around and started walking. No gift in my hands this time. Just a tight calm in my chest, like something finally clicked into place. The front door was slightly open, people coming in and out. I walked straight in like I lived there. No one tried to stop me. The living room was packed. Neighbors, church friends, people from Dad's job. My brother stood by the counter with a beer, his wife hanging off his arm like they were at a wedding reception. There were appetizers, cheap champagne, and music playing softly through someone's Bluetooth speaker. I walked right into the center of the room and said it. "The party's canceled. The venue's done. I pulled the deposit. This is the last time any of you treat me like I don't exist." Everything stopped. The music, the conversations, the glass someone was about to pour. My mom turned around like she didn't recognize me. Dad's face didn't move. My brother blinked slowly like I'd spoken another language. "What are you talking about, Jessica?" "The party. The one I paid for. The one I planned. I drove 3 hours with my kids. Your grandkids. Dad told me at the door, let's do without you today. So I made sure you could." My mom stepped forward, her smile trying to stay on her face. "You're being dramatic. That's not what he meant. He said it. Well, maybe it came out wrong, but you don't get to blow up the entire day over a little misunderstanding. This is our anniversary." "Exactly. And you made it clear you didn't want me or my kids part of it." Dad finally said something like he just realized everyone was watching. "You should have come in. You know how crowded it is. We figured maybe you were tired from the drive." "Tired?" You looked at me like I was the caterer showing up to the wrong house. You knew I was coming. You knew I planned it. And you still shut the door on me. People were starting to whisper. A few of the guests turned toward the hallway, like they didn't want to be caught eavesdropping but couldn't look away. Mom's voice got sharper. "We raised you with love. We did everything for you. But you've always been difficult. You ruin things. You blow things up and then blame everyone else." Someone near the back said, "Wow." Out loud. "You think I'm difficult? I paid for this party. I bought you a trip to Hawaii. That's what was in the box. 2 tickets. Non-refundable, by the way. And I already canceled it. You get nothing." That landed hard. My brother's wife whispered something to him and he put down his drink. "Jessica, you're being out of line. You're embarrassing yourself." "Lomax." I've been quiet for 35 years while you got everything handed to you. You were the golden boy and now your kids are their favorites too. Mine barely get a hello. The room was dead quiet. And then right then I heard it, little footsteps on the porch. My kids. They must have gotten worried. My son walked in holding his sister's hand, looking around nervously. They were still in their party clothes. My daughter asked if we were still doing cake. I told her no. We were going home. She asked if we could get milkshakes on the way. I said yes. I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I walked my kids back to the car, buckled them in and started driving. But I wasn't finished. We got milkshakes, parked in a quiet lot and let the kids finish them in the back seat while I sat in the front and stared at nothing. I didn't cry. I wasn't even mad anymore. Something in me had just shut off like a switch flipped and all the guilt and second guessing went dead silent. That night, after I got the kids to bed and checked on my husband, who still looked like he was on the losing end of a flu battle, I opened my laptop. The Hawaii trip was non-refundable, but I managed to get back 30% after a long chat with a very patient rep. It wasn't much, but I didn't care. The gesture was dead anyway. Then I opened the shared account. That account had been set up 5 years ago, after Mom called me crying that they were behind on bills and didn't want to lose the house. My husband and I agreed to help. We started small, $500 a month. Somehow it crept up over time. I stopped paying attention. They always had some new emergency. I never questioned it. Until that night. I looked at the statements. $2,000. Every month for the last 7 months. Restaurant charges. Spa days. A new flat screen. A weekend at a vineyard that I'd never heard about. And then right there in bold, a pending attempt to withdraw $8,000. I froze. $8,000. It had been triggered right after the party. I didn't even hesitate. I removed their access. Changed the passwords. Sent my bank an alert just in case they tried to do anything clever. Then I sat there staring at the screen and the anger finally hit. Not loud. Not explosive. Just steady. The next day around 1 p.m. someone rang the doorbell. My husband was still resting and the kids were watching TV. I opened the door and there they were. Both of them. Dad in his usual tucked-in shirt like he thought this was some business meeting. Mom already halfway into a frown. We need to talk. I didn't invite them in. I didn't smile. I just said go ahead. Mom didn't waste time. You embarrassed us. In front of everyone. And now we can't access the account. That money helps with our mortgage, Jessica. It's my money. You don't help yourselves. You each. And I'm done. Dad tried to talk but I held up a hand. You told me to my face that I wasn't welcome. You ignored your grandkids like they were someone else's problem. And now you show up here like I'm supposed to apologize? We never said you weren't welcome. You said it, Dad. Word for word. Let's do without you today. You misunderstood. No, I didn't. Mom stepped forward. You're being selfish. You're punishing us for one bad moment. You're being a bad daughter. That one hit hard. She said it so fast like she'd been waiting. And something in me snapped. But I still didn't yell. You know what's worse than a bad daughter? Bad parents. And that's what you are. They both flinched. I watched them process it. I'm not paying your mortgage. I'm not funding your lifestyle. I'm not putting up with another decade of pretending I'm the family problem when I've spent my entire life making excuses for the way you treat me. We stood there, all three of us, in a quiet little standoff on my front step. They didn't leave yet. But they would. Mom didn't say anything right away. Just stared at me like she didn't recognize who I was anymore. Dad looked down at the porch like he was trying to calculate the safest way to respond. Then Mom finally spoke. This isn't how families solve things. That was her line. That was always her line. Families. Unity. Loyalty. All the things she used like a leash whenever I pulled too far in the direction of independence. You mean like when you told me to go away on your anniversary? When I brought your grandchildren across the state to celebrate you? She waved that off, literally waved her hand like I was being childish. You don't understand what it's like to raise children. Have a house. A husband. We're struggling. No, you're spending. You've been spending my money. That's not struggling. That's stealing with extra steps. Dad stepped forward like he wanted to take the reins. We didn't ask you to cancel the party. You did that to make a scene. Just like when you canceled Christmas that year because your kid had a cough. You mean when my daughter had pneumonia? Jessica, no. No more stories where I'm the unstable one. You made me this way. You raised me to think nothing I did was ever enough and now you're surprised I snapped? I looked at both of them and they looked like strangers. Strangers who had fed off my guilt for so long they didn't know what to do without it. I won't be helping you anymore. That's done. You need to figure things out without draining me dry. And that's when the tone changed. Mom's voice dropped. Her hands clasped together. Her eyes did that thing where they softened just enough to sell the performance. We could lose the house, Jessica. Then sell it. It's been in our family for decades. Then maybe your golden son can save it. They didn't like that. He has his own kids. He can't. But I can. That's what you're saying? There was a long pause. Then Dad spoke again, and this time it came out more clipped. We gave you everything we could. We did our best. Your best always looked a lot like favoritism. Mom's eyes narrowed. You're not being fair. You told me I was unwell. In front of strangers. And now you're standing here asking for money. We need help. And I need parents. Real ones. But we don't always get what we want. They stood there in silence for a while. Like they were waiting for me to back down. I didn't. They didn't leave yet. But I could feel it coming. The final play. The begging. The part where they tried to remind me of every Christmas I ruined, every meal I didn't help make, every moment they carried a grudge. And they still thought it would work. They didn't move. Just stood there on my porch like they were waiting for something to shift. And I knew what was coming before they even opened their mouths. It was always the same pattern. Guilt, followed by threat, followed by tears. But this time Mom skipped straight to it. We might have to file for bankruptcy. That's not my problem. Jessica, this will ruin us. You know what that means for our credit, our retirement, everything. Then maybe you should have thought of that before taking $8,000 out of someone else's account. Dad finally spoke again. We just wanted to help Max. He's been having a hard year. And there was... Wait, what? The money. We used some of it to help Max. He lost his second job. They've been struggling. I stared at them. Just stared. They had taken thousands of dollars from me to help the golden boy stay comfortable while I scraped by trying to raise 2 kids and hold everything together? So you've been lying. To my face. Every time you said you were behind on bills. Mom had the nerve to look indignant. He's your brother. No, he's your favorite. You let me believe it was for your mortgage. And now you're here asking me to fund your lie? It was temporary. We thought he'd bounce back faster. And then she pulled the card she always held for last. Well, if we lose the house, there's something else you should know. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her bag and handed it to me. I unfolded it slowly. A deed. Their house. In my name. We were going to surprise you on your birthday. That was the plan. Leave it to you in the will. But with all this, maybe we should reconsider. I almost laughed. So now it's a bribe? It's a legacy. No, it's a trap. Jessica, no, listen to me. I'm not going to keep living my life trying to earn something you dangle in front of me like a prize I'll never win. I handed the paper back. Keep it. Give it to Max. That's what you were always going to do anyway. And here's my surprise. I'm changing my number. The bank accounts are locked. You'll get nothing from me. Not money, not time, not my kids. You've used us for the last time. I turned toward the door. We'll tell everyone what you did, Mom said behind me. How you abandoned us. How you ruined the party. How you broke the family. Go ahead. But when they ask why, tell them everything. Tell them about the money. The why. The fact that you told your daughter and her children to leave on your anniversary. Tell them why your grandkids weren't in the family photo. I'm sure that'll play great. And then it happened. My husband came to the door. Still in his robe, looking pale but alert. He'd heard everything. He looked right at them. She's done more for this family than both of you combined. You want someone to blame? Blame yourselves. Then he looked at me and said, come back inside. And I did. They stayed on the porch for another full minute before finally leaving. No goodbye. No apology. But they'd be back. One more time. They never came back to the house again. Not after that final standoff on my porch. I thought maybe they'd try one more time. Maybe show up during the kids' school drop-off. Or fake some medical emergency like they'd done before. But all I got were half-hearted texts, some guilt-drenched voicemails, and the occasional flying monkey from the extended family. My cousin Madison messaged me out of nowhere saying I should be careful not to burn bridges I might regret. My mom's sister called and said I had to remember, your parents aren't perfect, but they're still your parents. I let her talk. Then I let her go. No explanations, no anger, just distance. Because I don't regret it. Not for a second. Since cutting them off, my life has changed in ways I didn't think were possible. There's this strange, incredible silence now. The kind that only comes after chaos. The kind that lets you breathe for real. My husband is better. Stronger. We're closer than we've been in years. He told me that for the first time in our marriage he feels like our house is ours. That he doesn't have to walk on eggshells when I'm on the phone with people who drain me. The kids are thriving too. No more long drives to people who don't see them. No more awkward holidays where my daughter gets ignored while my brother's kids get showered with gifts. We do birthdays at home now. We laugh more. We sleep better. Even our little routines feel easier. I started therapy again. Real therapy. Not the maybe it's all your fault kind I used to find. My therapist asked me once if I felt guilty. I told her I didn't feel guilt. I felt free. As for my parents, their names barely come up anymore. When they do, it's not in anger. It's like remembering people I used to know. People who had every chance to do better and chose not to. A few months ago, someone from my dad's work messaged me. Said they'd heard about the family situation and wanted to let me know they'd always admired how I handled things. That threw me. I never knew people noticed. But apparently they did. I've read the stories online. People who had toxic parents and walked away for good. Some didn't even attend the funerals. I used to think that was cold. Now I get it. It's not about revenge. It's about peace. About not letting pain shape the rest of your life just because it came first. My parents fell in my eyes the day they told me to my face that I wasn't welcome. And not just me, my children. Their own grandchildren. I didn't imagine it. I didn't twist it. It happened. And now that I've stopped making excuses for them, the picture is painfully clear. They weren't good parents. They were just people who raised me. And I don't owe them anything. Not my time. Not my money. Not my silence. I live better now. I wake up without dread. I cook dinner with music playing. I plan weekends without factoring in anyone else's drama. My home is calm. It's mine. And the only legacy I care about now is the one I'm building with my kids. One where love isn't a transaction and family doesn't come with a bill. I used to beg them to see me. Now I don't even look in their direction. And I have never not once missed them.